Shocking discovery, Black girl reveals hidden danger in Billionaire's Fiancée. An incredible truth. Maya stared at the glowing screen, her heart thumping loudly against her chest. Graph after graph displayed troubling data numbers that whispered nightmares about the environmental aftermath of a conglomerate she had once viewed as untouchable. She blinked, hoping the figures would rearrange themselves into something less alarming. They didn't. The conclusion slammed into her: the very operations funded by the charm of Emma, the billionaire's fiancé, were poisoning their community. The air thickened around her, each inhale laced with uncertainty. Here she was, a 17-year-old intern, buried beneath stacks of lab reports, staring at a discovery that could shatter beloved illusions. It gnawed at her the integrity she had promised her mother she would uphold against the chaos of the world. What would happen if she unveiled the truth? The thought of breaking the community's trust was like acid pooling in her stomach. Emma had become the heart of their neighborhood, giving away money, hosting events. How could someone so admired be tied to something so sinister? Every face she recognized on the streets, her classmates, her mother's friends, was suddenly unfurling before her, their admiration turned to anger. A loud voice in her head yelled, "Don't expose their deception." And yet, another softer voice pushed back, whispering, "What about the truth?" As Maya paced the small lab, her mind raced through images of her mother, working tirelessly to provide for them, holding on to dreams that felt increasingly out of reach. She thought of their neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, her garden thriving until it choked with the chemicals seeping into the soil from the conglomerate. It was wrong, she couldn't turn a blind eye. But what if she were wrong? The doubt clung to her like sweat on a summer day, making her quiver. Her hands hovered above her keyboard, trembling as she considered the implications of her findings. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Maya's anxiety morphed into a storm inside her, the data swirling like a tempest around her resolve. She needed to confront the truth, yet the weight of what lay beyond that truth terrified her. Each time she envisioned standing before her community, declaring what she had uncovered, she was seized with panic. They would inevitably ask, "Why didn't you stop it?" She could almost hear their accusatory voices, calling out her treachery and betrayal. What kind of future lay ahead if she severed the very connections she had cherished simply to expose a billionaire's crimes? Her phone chimed, jolting her from her spiraling thoughts. It was a message from Emma, inviting her to meet at the coffee shop, expressing curiosity about Maya's thoughts on corporate ethics. Emma saw something in her, maybe a reflection of her younger self. Could this be her chance to form an alliance, or would meeting with her only complicate her resolve further? As the clouds of uncertainty gathered, Maya stood on the precipice of decision. Could she afford to risk it all for the truth? With trembling hands, she glanced down at her notes, feeling the echo of opportunity slip through her fingers. The realization gripped her tightly: in her quest to uphold integrity, nothing felt certain, but everything felt wrong. And as she prepared to step into the unknown with Emma, she could only wonder how much of herself she might lose to the truth she yearned to reveal. Maya's pulse quickened as she stepped into the coffee shop, the scent of freshly brewed coffee swirling in the air, sharp and grounding. She nearly turned back, the overwhelming weight of what she carried pressing heavily on her chest. But she was here, and the decision was hers to make. Emma sat at a corner table, her golden hair cascading down in relaxed waves, her demeanor inviting and warm. "Maya." Emma's smile was disarming as she waved her over. "I'm so glad you came." Maya sat down, still on edge, weighing her words like precious stones. "Thank you for inviting me. I've been thinking a lot about our last conversation." "Good. I wanted to hear your thoughts on everything," Emma said, stirring her coffee with a hint of enthusiasm. "Corporate ethics is such a vital subject, especially in business today. The irony of Emma's casual mention of ethics gnawed at Maya's insides. How could someone with her connections and lifestyle truly grapple with such abstract concepts when her family's very livelihoods were at risk? It is important, Maya managed, her voice trembling slightly. But what about the real impact these corporations have? Their decisions are often made without seeing the human costs. Emma raised an eyebrow, her interest piqued. Absolutely, I get that. But change requires resources and influence. Without getting your hands dirty, sometimes we have to overlook the background to make real progress. Maya felt a pang at that moment, a glimmer of realization pierced through her confusion. Could Emma be blind to the consequences spiraling from the very influence she valued? But isn't that the problem? Maya asked, her boldness growing despite a fluttering heart. Isn't overlooking the consequences part of what leads to the ethical dilemmas you mentioned? People suffer while we chase profits. Emma's expression shifted, the warmth fracturing into something far more guarded. Maya, it sounds like you have strong feelings about this. Do you have any first-hand experience? Maya hesitated, scanning Emma's eyes for any flicker of understanding, a flicker that never came. She had to choose her next words carefully, they were laced with fire. I do. My neighbor's garden is dying from pollution linked to your fiancé's company. All the community outreach in the world doesn't fix that. The air between them felt charged, and Maya braced for the impact of Emma's response. Would she dismiss it? Defend the conglomerate? Emma's fingers tightened around her cup. I understand your concern, but supplying funds to the community has helped many families. It's complex. What's complex is poisoning people in the name of helping them, Maya countered, her voice rising with indignation as passion overrode her fear. You're influencing lives without considering their worth beyond monetary value. For a long moment, silence hung between them, palpable and heavy. Maya's heart raced, the realization of what she had just done settled in. She had crossed a line. There was no unhearing what she had said. Emma's eyes narrowed slightly, an unspoken challenge passing between them. Do you really believe that confronting this issue will make a difference? Maya felt her resolve strengthen. I think it's worth fighting for. At that moment, she realized that the battle for truth wasn't merely about exposing the darkness of corporations, it was about standing up for those who had no voice. The flicker of courage ignited within her, a newfound determination blossoming into clarity. Yet, the path ahead shimmered with uncertainty. What could she accomplish by standing up in such a powerful game? As they locked eyes, Maya wondered if this confrontation would force Emma to reflect and reevaluate her role, or if it would merely set her against the powerful machine of the conglomerate. Then let us see what happens next, Emma said, a challenge laced within her words. Maya felt a shiver of trepidation run down her spine. The moment of truth had begun, and there was no retreating now. A decision loomed before her, one that would set the course of her life, to act decisively in the face of vast influence or remain in the shadows, silenced by fear. She knew the stakes, and could almost hear the echoes of her mother's voice: fight for what is right, Maya. But fighting could cost her everything. The battle was igniting, and Maya needed to prepare herself. What awaited her if she stepped fully into the light? Would she have the courage to plunge deeper into the perilous secrets of the entrenched power around her, or would she find herself engulfed by it? Maya stepped out of the coffee shop, the brisk air invigorating her soul, sparking an unshakable spirit. Her confrontation with Emma lingered in her mind like a coda to an unfinished song. The vulnerability woven through that dialogue offered an unsettling truth: this discussion had become the catalyst for her transformation. She stepped into the fray and uncovered a hidden part of herself that was previously naive and silent. As she walked home, each step reverberated with the uncertainties of her newfound resolve. She pondered her own profession. Her role as a community advocate had been one of outreach and connection, but now it felt insufficient against the corporate giants operating above morality. She had always cared about helping others, but how far was she willing to go to make a real difference? Maya's internal debate reached a crescendo as she reached home. The door swung open, revealing the familiar scent of her brother's cooking. Her heart warmed at his presence, a brief comfort amidst her swirling thoughts. "Hey, what's for dinner?" she asked, trying to wring some normalcy into her life. "Jambalaya, one of your favorites," he replied with a grin, his youthful exuberance cutting through the cloudiness of her mind. As they ate, the familiar banter flowed easily between them, but Maya felt the weight of her thoughts hovering over the table. "You all right?" he finally asked, eyes probing with genuine concern. "Just thinking about some heavy stuff at work." "You know how it is," she responded, biting her lip. "Corporate bigwigs playing with people's lives again." He set down his fork, leaning forward. "But you can't fight a billion-dollar machine by yourself." Maya realized his words mirrored her own doubts. "I might not be alone. Emma, she's got a lot of connections. But what if those connections are part of the problem? Then you need to figure out how to use it. Leverage it, instead of letting it crush you," he advised, his maturity catching her off guard. His words sparked something profound within her. What if she could turn Emma's sphere of influence into a bridge rather than a barrier? Maya felt a flicker of hope igniting alongside her curiosity. It was time to transform her fears into strategy. What if confronting Emma again wasn't just about the moral high ground, but also about empowering herself and influencing the very system she wished to challenge? That night, sleep eluded her as fresh ideas collided in her mind. She needed a plan, a focused approach to navigate this convoluted web of corporate ethics entangled with human lives. If she could ally with Emma, reveal the undeniable truths to her, perhaps their collective influence could drive change. But it was dangerous territory, the stakes were high, and she risked everything. But had she really prepared? Closing her eyes, she envisioned an actionable strategy: gather concrete evidence about the pollution, document stories of those suffering in her community, prepare to present data that dismantled the hollow rhetoric surrounding corporate outreach. Maya could feel her resolve shift from talk to action. The next morning heralded a new resolve. Determined, she spent hours researching her neighbors' claims, gathering testimonies, looking for others affected by what Emma's fiancé's company had used in their operations. With each digital dossier compiled, her confidence solidified. She felt like an architect of change, laying the foundation to confront Emma with more than just emotion, a strategic plan. As she got ready for the day, her phone buzzed with a message from Emma, an innocuous prompt for their next meeting. "Can we meet to discuss some ideas for outreach next week?" It read. This was her chance. Her heart raced at the thought. Could she harness this meeting not just as a platform for discussion, but as a decisive moment for ethical reclamation? The doubt seeped in again, but it was overshadowed by the certainty of necessity. Maya was ready to walk into this conversation armed with evidence, a focused strategy, and the fire of her convictions. Next week, the table would turn, she would make her case. It was finally time to face the pursuit of influence head-on, even if it meant risking everything she had. What would the confrontation reveal about both Emma and herself? Would she gain a powerful ally or awaken a formidable adversary? Maya entered the high-rise office building the next week with a mix of excitement and trepidation swirling within her. The polished marble floors and glass elevators offered a stark contrast to the weight of the conversation she was about to initiate. With each click of her heels echoing in the expansive lobby, she felt both the thrill of potential and the nagging worry of confrontation. Her heart thumped as she approached the gleaming conference room marked by sleek furnishings and panoramic views of the city. The air crackled with tension. The outcome of this meeting could either signify her ascent as a voice for change or her impending exile to silence. She sat down early, meticulously reviewing her notes, a detailed amalgamation of testimonies, statistics, and anecdotal evidence surrounding the environmental impact of Emma's fiancé's company. Emma arrived punctually, her confident stride betraying a facade of ease. "Maya. Good to see you. I'm looking forward to our discussion," she said, though her eyes flitted to the presentation materials in front of Maya, curiosity piqued. "Thanks, Emma. I think we have some important things to discuss," Maya replied, forcing her voice to steady, even as the self-doubt whispered in the recesses of her mind. As they settled in, Maya shot her a smile, determined to start the meeting on a note of mutual respect while masking her underlying nervousness. "I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me today. I've been reflecting on our last conversation." "Of course. I value your perspective," Emma said, her enthusiasm genuine yet unyielding. Maya took a deep breath, reminding herself of her brother's advice to leverage her alliances. "I want to talk about the outreach initiatives, particularly responsibility related to the environmental claims that have been directed towards your fiancé's company. I believe there is a crucial dialogue to be had." The openness of her words surprised even herself, revealing a confident thread that she hadn't fully recognized before. She opened her laptop and began presenting her findings, testimonies from affected residents, links to reports showcasing pollution statistics, and the broader implications of the corporate machinations at play. As the slides changed, she noted Emma's expressions shift from interest to concern, furrows forming on her brow. It was a significant contrast from the confident demeanor she usually projected. The atmosphere in the room intensified. Each word Maya spoke felt like a challenge, a test of faith in their newfound potential partnership. "Maya, I had no idea things were this severe," Emma finally admitted, her tone a mixture of shock and anger. "I mean, I've heard rumors, but this?" She glanced at the data. "What do you think this means for my fiancé? His reputation is on the line." Maya seized the moment. "It means we have a choice. We can either ignore these issues and let corporate interests dictate ethics, or we can confront them together. I know you're well connected, and that influence can either uphold this system or help dismantle it." A thoughtful pause enveloped the room. Emma's gaze flickered between the evidence laid out and Maya's earnest expression. Slowly, she spoke, "You're right, but the stakes are high. This isn't just a corporate issue, it affects personal lives, and it changes how I will be seen, how we will be seen." Maya's heart raced, sensing the tide shifting. Was the door finally creaking open? Yes, but think of the impact we could make together. Instead of merely adjusting outreach, let's redefine it. Inform the public, hold the company accountable. This is bigger than image, it's about actual change. Emma's expression became inscrutable, a tempest of emotions swirling behind her composed facade. "It's risky, Maya. If we do this and it backfires, then we take the risk. More people are suffering without a voice." Maya interjected, a spark of urgency igniting her determination. "We could be those voices." Emma leaned back in her chair, contemplative, the weight of Maya's words hanging palpably in the air. As the silence loomed, Maya could feel her heart pounding, realizing that this moment was critical. Was she persuading Emma, or merely stirring apprehension? "Let me think about it," Emma finally replied, breaking the tension with a cautious note. "I need to review everything before we proceed." Maya nodded, biting back the fear of potential failure. She had pressed the issue, and now the outcome depended on the strength of their connection and Emma's willingness to confront her own world. As they wrapped up the meeting, an unsettling blend of hope and uncertainty coursed through her veins. Would Emma rise to the challenge, or would fear stifle the possibility of real change? Walking out of that high-rise, Maya couldn't shake the growing realization that she was standing on a precipice, one that could either elevate her mission to unprecedented heights or plunge it into obscurity. What new insights would her next conversation with Emma unveil, and would it illuminate a path toward collective ethical reclamation, or deepen her struggle against an impenetrable corporate structure? Maya spent the next few days oscillating between anticipation and uncertainty. The weight of their discussed possibilities pressed heavy on her shoulders. Each morning she opened her laptop, preparing to draft a follow-up email to Emma, only to be ensnared by the potential ramifications of their proposed actions. They were at a crossroads, and fear lingered just beneath the surface. On a rainy Thursday afternoon, the sound of raindrops tapping against the window aligned with her incessant tapping on the keyboard, creating a rhythm of urgency. In that moment, she decided to reach out. "Hi Emma, I'm hoping we can schedule another meeting soon. The issues we discussed are pressing, and I'd like to explore actionable steps further." She hit send, the simple act grounding her resolve. To her relief, a response came swiftly. "I'd like that, Maya. Let us meet tomorrow. Emma's willingness to engage reignited the flame of possibility within her. But as the day unfolded, deep questions swirled in her mind. Could she trust Emma's commitment to aiding the cause? Was their developing rapport strong enough to withstand the scrutiny of both corporate interests and social perceptions? The next morning, she arrived at the cafe, the smell of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the faint scent of rain-soaked pavement. Maya chose a quiet corner table, clutching a steaming cup as she glanced at her notes. What if this meeting took a turn? She had to be prepared for any resistance Emma might still harbor. When Emma stepped through the cafe door, the chime of the bell felt more like a herald than an interruption. She appeared different than before, a nuance in her demeanor suggesting that the weight of their conversation had also settled uncomfortably within her. "Thank you for meeting me on such short notice," Maya said, forcing a smile that belied the tension she felt in her chest. "Of course," replied Emma, sliding into the seat across from Maya. "I've thought a lot about what you shared. I wanted to tell you that I talked to my fiancé about those environmental claims." Her words were cautious, reverberating in Maya's consciousness like an alarm bell. Maya leaned forward, bracing herself. "And how did he react?" Emma hesitated, her fingers drumming against the table. "He was furious at the insinuation. He believes it's all exaggerated. I mean, I get why you would want to bring these issues up, but he sees it as an attack on his family's legacy." Maya's heart sank. "Emma, those aren't just numbers on a report, they're real lives affected. I thought we could work together to make a difference." "I understand, but you have to realize there are repercussions. If we push too hard, it could destroy his reputation." "And mine too," Emma replied, conflict evident in her eyes, her internal struggle palpable. The words hung heavy in the air, churning Maya's sense of purpose into a whirlpool of frustration and determination. "Sometimes, doing the right thing isn't easy, Emma. You said you value transparency. What does that mean to you if we run from this?" Emma's gaze dropped, and within that silence, Maya's fierce resolve solidified. "Maya, I will support you, but I can't be at the forefront of this fight," Emma finally admitted, glancing back up. "I'm not ready to face the backlash from my fiancé or the public." Maya felt a rush of dismay, unearthed betrayal mixed with profound sadness. This was not what she had envisioned. "So, you're willing to walk away from this when people are depending on us?" Emma shook her head. "No, then we're stuck," Maya interjected. "I can't do this alone, and if you want to step out of your comfort zone, how can I expect anything to change?" Emma's eyes chilled, caught somewhere between loyalty and fear. "I didn't mean to let you down. I just don't know if I can risk my relationship, my future." The weight of her words struck Maya like a chilling gust of wind. This wasn't just about professional stakes, it was deeply personal, a battle not just for the environment but for Emma's identity itself. Feeling the urgency of the moment, Maya took a subtle step back, desperation creeping in. "Maybe I can uncover more information on my own," she suggested carefully, realizing the importance of maintaining their ties, even if only loosely. Emma's shoulders relaxed a bit. "What do you mean?" "I'll gather more evidence. If I can show you undeniable proof of the damage, perhaps then you'll reconsider." The thought ignited a spark of strategy within her. Gathering more information would not only solidify her own position but potentially change Emma's perspective as well. As the conversation shifted, Maya sensed a newfound determination blooming, even amid the uncertainty. Emma nodded thoughtfully. "Okay. Keep me in the loop, Maya. You're right, this needs to be in the open." As they parted ways, Maya felt the flame of determination rekindle within her, resilient threads of hope weaving through her nerves. What was her next step in this increasingly complex arena? What truth would she find next that would push both her and Emma closer to a critical resolution? Maya sat at her desk, surrounded by a fortress of paper, files, and energy drink cans that seemed to multiply with every hour she dedicated. The afternoon light poured through her window, illuminating the clutter, yet offering no clarity to the storm brewing in her mind. The conversation with Emma had ignited a resolve within her, but it was mixed with an unsettling sense of isolation. How was she supposed to navigate this labyrinth of information and emotional fragility alone? She pulled up the environmental reports again, their stark figures dancing around her vision. The evidence was compelling, statistics highlighting the dangers of certain practices and the consequences they had on surrounding communities. The challenge now lay in how to frame this evidence into a narrative that could both persuade and shock without alienating Emma even further. Maya took a deep breath and opened a new browser tab, ready to dive into her research. This time, her approach was different. She needed to transcend the sterile language of reports and engage in storytelling that could resonate. Lives were at stake, and she had to find the words that would cut through the noise, revealing the raw truths behind the data. As the hours passed, she meticulously compiled anecdotes from affected individuals, crafting powerful narratives that complemented the statistics. Inspired, she began to see herself not only as an advocate but more so as a storyteller, someone harnessing the power of truth to dismantle ignorance. Each story added a human face to the numbers, making the issue both relatable and urgent. Maya stood up, stretching her arms, a welcome relief from her screen-bound position. She felt the weight of her research settling into something greater than her initially solitary effort. But with a rising sense of urgency came a gnawing anxiety. What if her efforts fell flat? What if Emma remained hesitant and afraid? Maya questioned the very foundation of their partnership and whether they could truly trust one another in such a precarious venture. As night fell, she decided to shift her focus. It was time to connect with a mentor, someone experienced in environmental advocacy. She remembered Lisa, a tenacious activist she had met at a previous conference. Lisa was well versed in navigating corporate landscapes, a protector of both the environment and those who dared to challenge the status quo. Maya reached out with a tentative message, explaining her situation and requesting a meeting. The moment she hit send, a wave of anxiety washed over her. Would Lisa find her cause trivial? The next morning dawned with an email response from Lisa. Of course, I'd love to help. Let us meet this week. Relief surged through Maya, mingled with renewed determination. She vowed to approach this meeting with strategic brilliance, envisioning how Lisa could help her find the right pathways, tactical maneuvers to address not just the personal stakes but the stark realities behind the corporate manipulation of the environmental narrative. That afternoon, Maya returned to her research, feeling freshly empowered. Every detail she uncovered painted a clearer picture, a cause worth fighting for, one that demanded recognition beyond the superficial discussions she was used to in her corporate life. But just as she felt momentum building, an unexpected alert popped up on her screen, a news article highlighting Emma's fiancé and his company's philanthropic efforts in environmental sustainability. Her heart raced, a cold shiver creeping down her spine. Was this a strategically timed distraction? It felt like a direct challenge against the very claims she was preparing to make. The mounting tension sent her spiraling into contemplation. This was not merely an issue of truth, it was a battle against manipulation. How would she counteract their narrative? Each step she took now felt like a double-edged sword, threading the line between accountability and personal risk. The time to confront this reality was fast approaching, but Maya had a decision to make. Would she confront Emma? With what she had uncovered, risking further alienation, or would she delve deeper into her investigation, maintaining the fragile alliance for just a bit longer? As she sat, teetering on the edge of that choice, the enormity of the fight ahead loomed larger than life. The question rattled within her: how much of her own integrity was she willing to put on the line to expose the looming deception? Maya understood then that the journey was just beginning, and the implications of her next steps could redefine everything she stood for. The moment had arrived for her to take a stand or fall into obscurity. Maya's fingers danced restlessly over the keyboard as she tried to refocus on the environmental report sprawled across her desk. The article about Emma's fiancé had drawn a line in the sand, and now she had to decide whose side she was on, truth or complicity. The stakes had never been higher. She kept returning to the article, dissecting its content and weighing its implications. Was Emma's fiancé genuinely invested in sustainability, or was it merely a public relations stunt designed to protect a corporate agenda? Maya could already foresee the anger bubbling beneath the surface in Emma. Her friend had always taken pride in the philanthropic efforts of her fiancé's company. But how could she sit idly by when she had evidence that contradicted that narrative? The room pulsed with urgency, and Maya made a choice. She would meet with Lisa first, fortifying herself with insights from someone who understood the intricate game of corporate manipulation. This decision was not born from fear but rather a hunger for clarity and strategy, a way to fortify her approach before wading into treacherous waters with Emma. As the day of her meeting with Lisa approached, Maya meticulously crafted a list of questions. She wanted to know how to present her findings without losing the person she cared for most. What was the best way to break news that had the potential to shatter both their trust and a budding relationship? Her chest tightened at the thought, but beneath that tension, there was a spark of determination igniting her spirit. The meeting took place at a cozy cafe that felt worlds away from the corporate battlegrounds. Lisa greeted her with an open smile and a firm handshake that spoke of power and integrity. Over lattes and pastries, Maya laid out her research and revelations, sharing the anecdotal narrative she had pieced together. Lisa listened intently, occasionally nodding, her expression shifting from curiosity to grave concern. "You've got something powerful here, Maya," Lisa affirmed, her voice steady. "But you need to think long-term. Just blasting the truth out isn't enough. Look at how Emma's fiancé is framing his narrative. You need to play chess while they're playing checkers." Maya absorbed Lisa's insights, her mind racing. "How do I get Emma to see this without pushing her away? I can't afford to lose her." "The key is empathy," Lisa replied, leaning closer. "Make her understand that you're not attacking her fiancé's intentions, but rather advocating for the truth. Illustrate the human impact. Tie the statistics back to people Emma knows and loves. That'll resonate." These techniques were crucial, but Maya faced an internal dilemma. How could she maintain her integrity while being strategic? The idea of manipulation, even for a noble cause, sat uncomfortably with her. Was it wrong to wield such tactics in a quest for truth? As they delved deeper into strategy, Maya's confidence solidified. She left the cafe feeling lighter but burdened with the truth. There was a pivotal moment on the horizon, where her disclosure could either mend or fracture her relationship with Emma. Later that night, as Maya drafted her approach to the conversation, a sudden thought gripped her. What if Emma's connection with her fiancé was built upon misconceptions, not malice? Would this make Emma the unwitting antagonist in Maya's fight for justice? Maya paused, pen halted in midair. This wasn't just about a corporate agenda, it was about misunderstanding, misinformation, and the painful repercussions that followed. The human element was swiftly intertwined in every thread of her argument, and she realized that in order to save her relationship, she had to build a bridge crafted in genuine connection and respect. The dawn that followed bore a tentative calm, yet a bare-knuckle tension roiled beneath the surface. Maya sat poised at her desk, heart pounding in anticipation of her impending meeting with Emma. The weight of truth and friendship rested heavily upon her shoulders as she prepared to navigate this fragile emotional territory. The moment had arrived. Could she deliver both her message and maintain friendship, or would this fracture deepen the rift between them? Maya whispered to herself, time to move forward and embrace the truth. Even as doubt slithered in, with resolve building, she took a shaky breath. Would her next confrontation with Emma bring understanding or irrevocable change? Every second felt like a countdown to a clash, and Maya was ready to discover where her desires truly lay. Maya paced her apartment, the rhythmic thud of her heart echoing her determined steps. The weight of what she planned to share with Emma sat heavily in the pit of her stomach. As she looked at the mirror one last time, an intense resolve washed over her. Today wasn't just about fighting for what she believed in, it was about preserving a friendship that meant everything to her. The drive to Emma's place felt surreal. The familiar streets blurred as she recognized the gravity of her mission. Each traffic light that turned red momentarily stalled her pulse, a constant reminder that the discussion ahead could unravel everything they had built together. Maya couldn't revisit the uncertainty that had pervaded previous conversations, especially when the topic revolved around corporate ethics and personal integrity. This time, however, she was armed with knowledge, scrutiny, and empathy, the very tools Lisa had encouraged her to wield. Arriving at Emma's apartment, she took a moment to steady herself, her palms clammy against the cool steel of the doorknob. Before she could change her mind, Maya knocked. Several moments passed as she tried to quell the butterflies in her stomach. Finally, the door creaked open, and Emma stood there, radiating warmth and familiarity. "Hey, Maya. Come in." Emma's voice was upbeat, unaware of the weight of the conversation that lay ahead. "Thanks," Maya replied, forcing a smile while suppressing the tumult of emotions swirling inside her. They settled into the cozy living room, Emma offering herbal tea. As they chatted about trivialities, Maya's mind raced, rehearsing her points. The laughter echoed, but Maya could feel the impending seriousness thickening the air like a fog. She hesitated, watching Emma's carefree demeanor while her own heart felt like a ledger filled with accusations and concerns. "Emma, there is something important I need to talk to you about," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. The light in Emma's eyes dimmed as an unsteady tension filled the space. "What is going on? You seem serious." Maya inhaled deeply, locking her gaze with Emma's. "I came across some concerning information regarding your fiancé's company and their practices." The air shifted, and Maya saw the slight tightening of Emma's lips. "What do you mean? Are you implying he is involved in something unethical?" Maya steeled herself, recalling Lisa's advice to approach with empathy. "I think it's crucial we look at the bigger picture here. His company has been involved in some tactics that are more about image than actual sustainability. I wanted you to know because I care about you and your values." The silence that followed felt like an eternity. Emma crossed her arms, a defensive stance creeping into her posture as she processed Maya's words. "You know how hard it is for him, right? The pressures he faces. I mean, every corporation has skeletons in their closet. Doesn't that apply to everyone?" Maya felt a surge of frustration. "But isn't that the exact point? If we shrug off these actions under the guise of solidarity or wait and see, aren't we contributing to the problem? I just can't be silent." Emma's eyes narrowed, emotion bubbling just beneath the surface. "Maybe you're conflating personal relationships with business. You're making it sound like he is some villain in all of this. I thought friends thought the best of each other." As these words hung in the air, Maya felt a deep pang. Emma's perception of loyalty was shaped by their bond and the rhetoric of support over truth. How could she break through this moment? "You're right," she acknowledged. "But love and truth aren't mutually exclusive. We can both care and still question. I'm not here to attack him, Emma, I'm trying to protect you from potential heartbreak." A flicker of doubt crossed Emma's face, revealing an internal conflict. Maya sensed the shift but also the fragility of the moment. Was this the breakthrough she needed, or merely a prelude to a deeper rift? As Maya prepared to lay out more evidence, the tension became palpable, and she realized the conversation required a delicate balance of honesty and caution. The clock continued to tick down, and her heartbeat matched the rhythm of the uncertainty hanging ominously over their friendship. What would Emma ultimately choose, faith in a relationship built on trust and love, or the unsettling truths that questioned that foundation? As Maya poised herself for the next argument, anxiety intertwined with hope. She was prepared to navigate even deeper emotional waters, but was Emma ready to dive in with her? Maya's next words would determine not just the outcome of their conversation, but the fate of their friendship altogether. What happened next could either forge a new understanding or fracture everything they built. Maya's heart raced as she descended further into the conversation's intensity. She could feel the shifting winds of emotional turbulence around them, and she knew this was a moment where words had the power to either build bridges or create chasms. Emma's gaze lingered on her, uncertainty etched across her features. It was time to push for clarity without losing the thread they still held together. "Emma," she began, choosing her words carefully, "taking a step back doesn't mean you're disloyal. Awareness is part of love. We owe it to our instincts and one another. If something isn't right, we need to address it, regardless of the tension it might cause. Emma's posture softened slightly, making Maya feel a hint of triumph. But she stayed grounded, aware that this flicker of openness could easily be smothered if mismanaged. She pushed forward, her own voice steady but resolute. Listen, I've done my homework. I contacted some environmental NGOs and reviewed reports on practices happening within his company. They're greenwashing their initiatives while lobbying against laws that would hold them to stricter accountability. I realize this could jeopardize your relationship, but it's important that you know precisely what is at stake. Maya saw Emma's jaw clench, but there was a gleam of consideration in her eyes now. Perhaps she needed a moment to digest it all. Why should I trust you over him? Emma's tone had sharpened. Aren't you just trying to stir the pot? Maya felt a chill travel down her spine. A wave of instinct kicked in, urging her to reason with care. She understood that fighting against emotional attachments would be a far more complicated battle than presenting statistics or testimonials. Emma, I'm not saying he is a bad person. Yet this isn't about him alone, it's about all of us and the environment we strive to inhabit. You have a right to be informed, to make your own decisions without the blinders love can sometimes impose. Emma's tension seemed to melt slightly as vulnerability seeped into her features. Maya felt the cracks forming in the defensive barriers that had built up around their conversation. But what if you're wrong? What if this is just competition trying to sabotage his success? She implored. Maya took a deep breath, its warmth contrasting with the cool air that bound them. What if I'm not? What if your fiancé is truly charming the world while perpetuating a harmful cycle? It's not about suspicion. It's about ensuring that the foundation of your partnership stands on solid ground, not on sand. Silence filled the space between them, a thick quiet that echoed the weight of unraveling choices. In that pause, Maya began to feel the contours of her own growth. This was no longer just about friendship, it was about her resolve to stand firm in her convictions, risking discomfort to seek truth. Emma finally broke the silence. This is such a lot to take in. I'm hurt that you didn't trust me enough to come to me sooner. At the same time, I appreciate that you care. Maya felt a flicker of relief but quickly tempered it with caution. It's a complicated web we've caught ourselves in, and I didn't want to come across as accusatory. I struggled with this myself. Questioning someone you love is never easy. For a moment, they locked eyes, and Maya saw the stirring of introspection in Emma's expression. The conversation was taking unexpected turns, layering depths they hadn't addressed before. Here lay the crux of personal growth, the realization that caring meant grappling with difficult truths, not brushing them aside for the sake of comfort. As they continued to discuss the implications of the information Maya had shared, Maya's confidence grew. She was stepping into her own voice, realizing that bearing witness to injustice and holding loved ones accountable didn't diminish friendship, it elevated it. But just as she prepared to recount the specific accusations that sent her into this confrontation, a sudden knock at the door interrupted them. Emma's face clouded over, and an unsettling certainty crashed over Maya. She knew that the moment of truth was coming, and it might bring more than just answers. Who could that be? Emma muttered, a hint of anxiety creeping into her voice. Maya felt the surge of tension ramp up. Whoever it was could drastically change the tone of their evening. Would it be Emma's fiancé, ready to dismiss her friend's concerns, or perhaps someone else entirely? The suspense wrapped around them like a tightening vice, amplifying the stakes of their discussion. As Emma opened the door, Maya held her breath, waiting for a revelation that might alter everything they had fought so hard to discuss. Here was where cracks could deepen or walls could fortify. No one could predict the outcome. One thing was certain: their friendship, now standing at a crossroads, would never be the same again. As the door swung open, Maya's breath caught in her throat. Emma's fiancé stood there, his presence radiating an air of confidence that felt imposing. The conversation hung precariously in the balance, and for a fleeting moment, Maya considered retreating into silence. Emma's expression transformed, morphing into a mixture of hesitance and joy as she greeted him. But for Maya, the reality of the moment was stark. "Hi, I hope I'm not interrupting, he said, flashing a disarming smile. I just wanted to see how you two were doing. With their fragile emotional atmosphere disrupted, Maya felt her resolve flicker like a candle in the wind. Emma hesitated, her eyes darting between Maya and her fiancé. We were just discussing some important matters, Emma managed, her voice laced with uncertainty. Maya found herself wrestling against the rising tide of anxiety. The urgency built within her a chance to confront not only Emma's fiancé but the very ramifications of corporate misconduct and personal integrity. This was the moment they had both been leading up to, even if fate had dealt its wild card now. Actually, she began, mustering all her courage, I have something important to share with both of you. It can't wait. The room fell silent as realization dawned on Emma's face. This was it. The gravity of what Maya was about to say pressed heavily on her chest. Her instincts told her she had to push through the discomfort, to stand her ground even amid the unexpected presence of Emma's fiancé. Emma started, but Maya interrupted her, propelled by an urgency she had never felt before. I've been looking into the environmental practices of your fiancé's company, she stated, as Emma's fiancé raised an eyebrow in intrigue, his expression shifting to a wary curiosity. You might not have been aware, but there are serious allegations about your operations causing pollution that affects local communities. Emma's fiancé chuckled lightly, a dismissive gesture that ignited the fire within Maya. These are just exaggerated claims, statements from competitors trying to tear down our reputation. You can't believe everything you hear. No, Maya countered firmly, I've gathered data and testimonies from residents being affected. This isn't just a rumor, it's real. People's lives are at stake. Each word felt stronger than the last, amplified by the realization that she had the power to influence conversations that mattered. Emma looked between them, her loyalty warring with dawning comprehension. Is this true? She asked her fiancé, the hurt evident in her voice. Have you been hiding this from me? I've been protecting our brand and legacy, Emma, he replied, shifting his weight and sounding defensive, you know how business works. But it shouldn't come at the cost of people's well-being. Maya pressed forward, fueled by the solidarity of her mission, her voice unwavering. You both have to understand that true corporate responsibility requires transparency not just for profitability but for ethical integrity. Silence enveloped the trio, the weight of truth settling over them. Emma looked at her fiancé, her expectations hanging by a thread. The look on her face mirrored a conflict of loyalty versus responsibility, heart versus integrity, rooted in the connection they shared yet now tested by harsh realities. Maya watched as Emma's expression transformed, realization washing over her. Maya, you're right. I want to support the community, not just keep preserving a facade, she stated finally, her eyes ablaze with determination. What can we do to address this? The shift in their dialogue felt liberating, like the unbinding of chains. Let us hold an informational meeting, gather a team, and involve those impacted directly, Maya suggested, her passion invigorating the conversation. Emma took a deep breath, her strength consolidating. Let us make this transparent and accountable. We need to reframe how we approach corporate outreach. As the conversation unfolded, a sense of achievement surged through Maya. This wasn't merely about confronting Emma's fiancé. It was about melting away ignorance, framing conversation into action, and reclaiming the narrative for the community's well-being. Maya felt a remarkable wave of personal strength, a burgeoning confidence she had wanted to embody all along. Finally, as their dialogue wrapped toward conclusions, she realized the metamorphosis she had undergone. She was no longer merely a silent witness but a prominent voice standing resolutely for the truth. Maya knew her journey had shaped her into a proactive young woman, someone capable of steering light into the darkest shadows, forging connections where there had once been none, and standing firm for the community she held dear. In that moment, amid uncertainty and vulnerability, Maya achieved her goal. She had transformed her fear into action, her doubt into strategy, and her voice into a beacon for change. They all left Emma's apartment that evening renewed and driven, a shared commitment to rebuild trust, reclaim integrity, and foster an alliance rooted in truth. Now, every personal achievement gained was a reminder of her evolution. She stood not just as an advocate for the community but as an empowered individual who had conquered fear and emerged triumphant. This was just the beginning. Together, they were poised to rewrite a narrative of accountability and hope. Now, if you felt the weight of Maya's journey, you need to subscribe now to witness the next exclusive emotional stories that will inspire and provoke thought. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, ensuring this powerful narrative reaches others in need of transformation. Comment below your reactions and theories about Maya's journey as a proud champion of change. We want to hear from you, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible conclusion. Time to spread inspiration and ignite movements.